Hi, everybody. In this presentation, we're going to talk about the Canadian Open Neuroscience Platform, or CONP. This is going to be presented by myself, Tristan Glatar, and Samir Das. CONP is a platform to make neuroscience tools and data fair, for findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. There are many components to the project, including a training component, an ethics component, and a technical component that's developing a platform, a web portal, essentially, to help people share their data and tools. And today, we are going to demonstrate the features and main capabilities of this platform. Samir will start by presenting the data features.
So thank you, Tristan. Basically, what I'm going to show you right now is the more concrete applications of the CONP initiative, which is several years in the making now, actually. So what you're looking at here is actually the portal itself. I'm just going to move our faces a little bit off to the side. But the idea is that this deliverable is an aggregation of all kinds of different data sets across the planet, really. It's a Canadian-born initiative, but and we definitely focus on homegrown data in Canada, but we're definitely open to other kinds of data sets from all over the place. So this portal allows you in a decentralized way to basically grab data from whoever wants to share it. The underlying mechanisms are DataLad and GitAnnex, which are the software that sort of governs how all of this is done. And then, of course, a web interface, a Flask interface that allows the average end user to take a look at this. So what you're seeing here is the CONP portal. The dashboard, it shows you all sorts of interesting analytics about what kind of data exists here, and some news about the portal, and easy tutorials and videos so that you can navigate through this. What I'll do is I'll take you through some of the key aspects of this portal, and starting with the actual data itself. And then Tristan will go through the tools and pipelines and even show you how to share data. So right at the beginning at the top, there's some interesting points that should be displayed first. So when you first log into the portal, you're going to get a terms of use. This has been very carefully crafted to sort of highlight all of the specific terms of use of the portal. For any given data set, there might be additional terms of use that you would see that are governed for that specific data set when you go to that section. There's an area to contact us if you have any specific questions, and a form that you could fill out, a help section that follows all of this. But what I'm going to do is start with the data itself. Now, at this point, we are at 47 plus data sets, 47 displaying right now, and there's a bunch in the works. So if you scroll down here, you can quickly see the full list and a description of all the different data sets that exist. There are many. At the top, you can actually search for whatever data set you want. So if I wanted to search prevent AD, for example, it would just refine, and there are other flags and filters that you can use to find the exact kind of data set that you're looking for. Now, in this particular example, I'm going to highlight prevent AD. It was actually the first data set that we included in the CONP portal already almost a couple of years ago. And the idea is there's a quick meta description of this data set right on the data set, on the main data set search page. But if I was to click on one of these, it gives you a more elaborate description of what is happening here. So some key buttons that I think I would like to highlight first. So metadata. There is some, specifically metadata, descriptive data of the data set that's organized in a structured way. So if you were to click on this, it would just simply download this into a JSON file for you, and you can do things with it. And because it's structured, you can programmatically do things with it as well. I'll show you some of that in a bit. And then there's other ways to, there's a description, more elaborate description of the data, but there's other ways to actually download it. If I was to click download, it takes me directly to the instructions on how to do all of this. So the idea being, there's two ways. You can download the data set directly from the browser. For this data set, direct download is not available because it's a rather large data set. But for smaller ones where it makes sense to download from a web browser, there'll be a button available here and you can click download directly. For more elaborate data sets like PreventAD here, which is actually a multimodal data set that was acquired over almost a decade, and it was basically at-risk dementia patients or at-risk patients of dementia. And so this has imaging data, it has genetics, it has all kinds of phenotypic data. And so it's a very elaborate data set and rather large. So it may not make enough sense to download this through a web browser. But what we do is provide very easy instructions on how to do this command line, which I'm about to show you.
The next thing we'd like to demonstrate today is how to access tools and pipelines from the CONP portal. So as for the data, the CONP portal is a way to make tools and pipelines fair. So let's look first how to find pipelines in the portal. So we can see from this menu that we have a whole list of pipelines here that can be searched either by free form keyword such as MRI here or cortical thickness. We can also search for pipelines using a given tag in the associated with the tools. So that will restrict the list of pipelines which are available. Now, once we've identified a pipeline of interest, if we click on it, we can see actually a whole description of the pipeline, including metadata on the author of the pipeline, a basic description of the pipeline, any external URL that may be useful for the pipeline, and last but not least, a container image, so Docker or Singularity associated with the pipeline that will allow us to reuse the pipeline without any painful installation because we can rely on the container image. The whole metadata about the tool is written using a format called boutiques, which you can see the web page here, which is a way to describe pipelines, with their descriptions, including descriptions of their input, outputs, and main metadata. All the pipelines hosted on CONP are actually also hosted on Zenodo, on the Zenodo platform, which guarantees that each of our pipelines have a DOI and will be permanently accessible. Once we have found pipelines, we can also try and aim at actually using them for data processing. So we have several different methods to do that. The first one that I'm going to demonstrate is using the CBrain platform to run the pipeline online. So we can see that this pipeline here, FSL-BET, is actually accessible on CBrain, which is figured by this icon here. So if I click on this icon, I'll be redirected to the CBrain interface. Of course, I need to have an account there, where I can see the files which are available in my account, and that includes the CONP datasets. And I'm actually here ready to launch FSL-BET directly on these files. So I can select one or more files to run in FSL-BET, and then click the launch button, add any potential parameter or extra information that I would like to use. Like these would be the usual common FSL-BET parameters. And when I'm ready to do it, I need to select also a location where I want my results to be stored. I can use, for instance, this one. The form, you can see this is side effect of the boutiques metadata description. The form tells me that my parameter here is actually not valid, so I can correct it. And once I'm ready to launch the task, I can click the start button, and the task will be prepared by CBrain and then launched in the background. I will then get if I go to my list of tasks, I will then get an FSL bed tasks, which is now being processed actually on the Quebec HPC Center Beluga. Okay, now that we've seen how to access and reuse data and how to find, access, and reuse pipelines, let's have a look now at how do we upload new data to CONP. So this part is also documented here in the shared menu. There are actually multiple ways to upload a data set to CONP. Maybe the easiest ones are to use either Zenodo or OSF, the Open Science Framework. But it's also possible to upload your own data sets using DataLab directly if your data is already available on the web, such as, for instance, in a good old FTP server, or perhaps in a more elaborated database such as Loris. Okay, so one important point of uploading your data sets to the CONP is also not only to upload files, but to upload metadata, which in the case of CONP means a DATS file, DATS being the metadata format initially developed by BioCaddy. So a standard metadata description format. So if you upload your data set to Zenodo or to OSF and then have the crawler finds it, a DATS model is automatically generated for you from the fields that have been added to Zenodo and OSF. And then, of course, it could be further edited if needed. In other situations, as we realize that it can be a bit daunting to write your own DATS metadata file on your own, we've created an interface to actually generate a DATS model for your data sets. So this interface is hopefully as simple as it can be. So you can add your dataset title, you can add the type of creators, you can add affiliations, roles, any field that will end up being part of your dataset metadata description. And so once all the fields have been filled, if I hit confirm, I will then be able to download my newly created DATS model with all the metadata in it, which can be used either as a primary source to describe my data set, or as a way to improve an existing DATS file. I guess that concludes the presentation, more or less. I don't know, Samir, if you have anything to add.
So, I mean, the one point is that by going through all these motions and having a place where you can both find your data and tools, you can dramatically improve the automation and the sharing aspects of data or pipelines. And you will very quickly become the hero in your lab or environment if you can do this seamlessly across borders with many of your collaborators. So our goal here is to facilitate that as much as possible, both with elaborate command lines as well as a nice interface. And hopefully that's what you're seeing here today.
We thank all our sponsors and collaborators, and primarily the Brain Canada Foundation. We also thank all the developers and contributors to the platform, including Jean-Baptiste Pauline and Sean Hill, the co-chairs of the Technical Steering Committee. You can find more information about us on CONP.ca and access the portal at portal.conp.ca. You can also follow us on Twitter. Thanks for your attention, and we'd be happy to take any question.